In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. Well, now we want to talk about the third component of the cooperative principle. Well, we already talked about the first and the second part on pages 33 up to page 40, okay? We talked about observing the maxims. We talked about flouting the maxims. Now we want to talk about the third element, which is violating the maxims. Okay, it appears on page 40, line 1. Okay, violating the maxims. Well, a speaker can be said, line 1. A speaker can be said to violate a maxim when they know that the hearer will not know the truth and will understand the surface meaning of the words. Okay? They intentionally generate misleading implicature, as Thomas 1995, page 73 says. Okay? So, they send something misleading. They communicate something misleading, okay, intentionally, okay, in order to mislead the person, okay. Now, we say that it is, line 3 says, maxim violation is, look at this word, unostentatiously, quietly deceiving. It is like this, deceiving, like khida', like unostentatiously means mutazahir, mutabahir, mutafakhir, maybe, mutafakhir, okay? It's like that. Now the speaker deliberately, line 4 says, the speaker deliberately supplies insufficient information, says something that is insincere and irrelevant or ambiguous, and the hearer wrongly assumes that they are cooperating. The hearer thinks that he or she is cooperating, but this person is not in fact cooperating. He or she is deceiving, misleading, etc. Well, there are different types, as you see, for violating the maxims. Type 1. If a speaker violates the maxim of quantity, they do not give the hearer enough information. Because quantity means giving, the maxim of quantity means giving enough information. Now, this is the opposite, meaning that the person is violating it. Okay? So we say because they do not want the hearer to know the full picture. They want to show part of the picture of what is going on. Line 3 of this new paragraph says the speaker is now implying anything. They are being economical with the truth. They are going to be economical with the truth, meaning that they don't want to give out the information, the truth. They don't want to reveal the truth. You may know the Peter Sellers film in which the Pink Panther asked a hotel receptionist about a little dog beside the desk. Let us see. A says, Does your dog bite? Does your dog bite? B says, no. This second person, B, is going to deceive A. A bends down to a stroke and it gets bitten by the dog. The dog bites A. And A says, you said your dog doesn't bite. B says, that isn't my dog. That isn't my dog. So this is a picture of, in fact, violating the maxioms. It is quite different from the previous pages which we had, flouting maxioms. Okay, so it's an example of maxim of quantity, which is being, in fact, flouted. So we are going to continue. Line 2 of this new paragraph says they do not want to hear or know the full picture, as I told you. Now let us continue with the new paragraph below. In the middle of the page we have another instance of, in fact, example. Let us look at here, husband and wife. Okay, husband and wife. This new conversation. Husband says, how much did the new dress cost? How much did that new dress cost, darling? Okay. The husband knows that the wife has gone to a very expensive shop and has got an expensive kind of dress for herself. Just listen. The wife's answer is not true. The wife's answer is deceiving. Okay? She deliberately supplies insufficient information. And the answer is irrelevant, not related. And the answer is ambiguous in that it has got, she says something which she means the truth is something else. Now, let us come back to the conversation. The husband says something like this. How much did that new dress cost, darling? And the wife says, less than the last one. Not enough information. She means that it is expensive again. Okay, so below it is written something like this. The wife, when asked how much did that new dress cost, darling, could have violated the maximum quality by not being sincere, okay? Not being sincere and giving him the wrong information, okay? So it is 30 pounds and it is expensive. 30 pounds means about $60. Okay, and it is expensive. Suppose it is expensive, and it is, I suppose. Now, let us go to the next paragraph. The next paragraph wants to show something related to this kind of quality. Once more. Needlessly to say, the paragraph begins with this sentence. 2 paragraphs to the end of the page. Needless to say, not all violations of maxioms of quality are blameworthy. Okay? Sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it is okay that you violate a maxim like the maxim of quality. Let us see. In many cultures, it is perfectly acceptable to say something like this to a child of 5 years old. Mommy's gone on a little holiday because she needs a rest. When? Instead of saying something like this, Mommy's gone away to decide what we call whether she wants to see a divorce or not. The wife is going to have a divorce. Okay, she wants to be separate from her husband, divorce. Okay, but we do not say a child of 5 that your mother is going to have something like divorce. Okay, so this is an example of a white lie. When we said to a child of 5, mom is gone on a little holiday because she needs a rest. She needs a rest. No, she doesn't need a rest. She wants to have a divorce. Okay? So we don't ever say mom is gone away to decide whether she wants to divorce or not. Okay? So it is considered to be a white lie, and a white lie is a kind of violation of maxims, and it is acceptable. Line 1, 2, 3, 4 says, a lie that protects a lie that protects is a lie with good intentions, what we call a white lie. This is the definition of a white lie. Okay. Now let us go to the next paragraph. Relation and manner. Relation and manner. Again, we are going to come back to husband and wife above. In answer to how much did that new dress cost, darling? The wife could have answered violating the maxim of relation in order to distract him and change the topic. So, suppose the husband repeats that kind of conversation on top with how much did that new dress cost, darling? And the wife answers something like this. Line 1, 2, 3 to the bottom of the page. I know. Let us go out tonight. Now, where would you like to go? Okay, going out. Okay, going out. Changing the topic. Doesn't reveal how much she has paid for the dress. What does it mean? It is a violation of maxim of relation. It is irrelevant. The answer is irrelevant, and she actually deceivingly and not mistakenly, intentionally says something against the in fact truth. Okay? Or suppose again there's another answer to how much that new dress cost. And the person says, and the wife says something like this: a tiny fraction of my salary, though probably a bigger fraction of the salary of the woman that sold it to me. What does it mean? It's a violation of manner. Okay? In the hope that could be taken and answered and a matter could be dropped. We are going to forget about this topic. And we sometimes do the same thing with a child. Suppose that the child wants something. We change the topic. We are going to pay the attention of the child to something else. So we are in fact going to have something with violation of manner. Now, the last line of the page says, in the sheltered home example. You had the sheltered home example on page 34. Okay, the sheltered example is the big example on page 34. So there was a conversation between the interviewer and one woman in the sheltered home example. Sheltered home examples is an example. Sheltered home is a place for keeping the elderly people. Okay. Now, below on page 34, we have below on page 40 we have. In the sheltered home example, the old lady answers the interviewer's question in a way that could be said to be violating the maxim of manner. In that, she says everything except what the interviewer wants to know. The interviewer wants to know what happens in the sheltered home, and this woman does not give enough information. Let us see. You have to, in fact, review page 41 with the, in fact, repetition of what is there on page 34. Now below it is written here, half of what they are saying, okay? The woman says half of what they are saying on page 34 is an obscure reference to the other people's opinion. Okay? It was to hide it, obscure the fact, obscure the truth by this woman. And a fixed thing contains in a general noun containing vague reference. There's a kind of vague reference when we say something like a fixed thing, okay? She may be using these exceptions, the book says, to avoid giving a brief and orderly answer. She doesn't want to give a brief and orderly answer for the moment, at least for the moment. Okay, now we go to other parts of non-observance of maxims. Okay, let us see. So the discussion on violating the maxims is over. Let us go to a new part. Other forms. Grice listed two other ways to fail or fulfill a maxim. You can fail a maxim or fulfill a maxim. Okay, observe a maxim or not violate a maxim. One is to infringe it and opt out. The other is opt out. Okay. So we want to infringe it means that we want to break a rule, or we want to opt out, okay, to choose not to be involved in something. Okay, again, there are other examples here of non-observance of maxims. A, the next paragraph, we are going to talk about the first example, A. This is the whole paragraph actually talks about one thing. A speaker infringing a maxim fails to obscure a maxim because of their imperfect linguistic performance. This can happen if the speaker has an imperfect command of the language. Okay, like a child. A child does not have a good vocabulary. A child does not have a good, in fact, grammar structure. Okay, or a foreign accent like mine, like yours. Okay, a foreign accent, a foreign learner. Okay, a foreign learner that is not fluent with the language. Okay, a foreign learner. If the performance is impaired, problematic, impaired, not complete, not full, with imperfections. Nervous, drunkenness, and excitement. Again, these are examples of non-observance of maxims as infringing. Okay. Or the next paragraph, the paragraph below the example. A speaker opting out of a maxim indicates an unwillingness to cooperate, shows that he or she does not want to cooperate, although they do not want to appear uncooperative. Okay? So they cannot reply in the way expected. So, in an example of a kind of conversation between two countries, between, let's say, the foreign minister of one country and the foreign minister of the other country, well, these foreign ministers do not want to say that they are not cooperating. They just appear to be cooperating, but they actually opt out. Opt out. So a speaker opting out of a maxim indicates an unwillingness to cooperate, although they do not want to appear uncooperative. They appear to be very cooperative, but sometimes two foreign ministers, two people actually want to opt out. So the book says they cannot reply in the way expected, sometimes for legal or ethical reasons. And they say something like this: I'm afraid I can't give you that, I can't give you that information. Okay? So these are examples of other forms of non-observance of maxims. Okay? In the form of opting out. Now we are done with this part of violating